If anyone was going to teach a course on modern songwriting, it would be hard-pressed to find a better song to use as a model than Stuck With You, with words and music by Justin Bieber, Scooter Braun, Ariana Grande, Whitney Phillips, John Stone, Skylar Stonestreet, and Freddie Wexler. This song contains all the elements and techniques of architecture, melodic construction, chord movement, harmony, vocal ranges and interpretation, melodic, rhythmic, and harmonic hooks, along with unexpected variations and nuances that elevates a work of art above the norm. The overall architecture. First of all, it's in the key of A-flat major, 6/8 time. We have an introduction, verse 1, a pre-chorus, a chorus, verse 2, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, chorus, and outro. First, let's look at the introduction. It is 8 measures long, and as I said, in 6/8 time. 6/8 features 6 eighth notes per measure or their equivalent. It is normally subdivided into 2 beats per measure. The emphasis is on 1 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The chords in the key of A-flat major are A-flat, the 1 chord, B-flat minor, the 2 chord, C minor, the 3 chord, D-flat, the 4 chord, E-flat, the 5 chord, F minor, the 6th chord, and G half diminished, the 7th chord. A-flat, B-flat minor, C minor, D-flat, E-flat, F minor, G half diminished. The chord progression of the introduction, as we shall see, is used for the verse, pre-chorus, and chorus. The only exception is the bridge. I will play the progression and label it now. A-flat chord, the 1 chord, for 2 measures. For the next 2 measures, we have C minor, the 3 chord. The chord is extended to C minor 7th. A minor 7th adds depth and color to the chord. This is a common substitution for the 3 chord, used extensively in jazz. The 4 chord, D flat. Notice how the 3 chord, C minor 7th, leads nicely into the 4 chord. The D flat is held for 2 measures. For the next measure, we have the F minor chord, the 6th chord. This is also extended into an F minor 7th. For the 8th measure, we have an E flat chord. This is the E flat chord, the 5 chord for the 8th measure. The 5 chord normally pulls to the 1 chord. Often it is extended to a dominant 7th, which adds dissonance and more pull to that 1 chord. Here it is left a plain triad, E flat. In most songs, we have 2 levels of harmonic rhythm. Level 1, what we just heard, the underlying chords, the duration of each chord. For example, the A flat was for 2 measures, the C minor 7th was for 2 measures, etc. The second level, a particular rhythm is applied to the chords. Here we see the chords played with a strong accent on the second beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. So on that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is heard throughout the song except for the bridge. This accented chord on every second beat becomes an important rhythmic harmonic hook. Thinking of chords in terms of 2 rhythmic layers, creating a hook is very important to make your song memorable. The introduction features Ariana humming, speaking, and singing short phrases which forecast the melodic rhythm which will be used extensively in the verses. As with most verses, this introduction sets the time signature, key, chord progressions, harmonic rhythm, bass lines, instrumentation, tempo, feel, and genre of the song. The bass line reinforces each chord with the root and then a connecting passing tone to the next chord. The bass line is so important. It has three functions. First, to anchor the harmony. Second, to connect the chords. And third, to work with the drummer, especially the bass drum and hi-hat, connecting the rhythm to the harmony of any work. The importance of this connection cannot be overstated. Now on to the verse. Verse 1 is 8 measures long and it has 3 phrases. As the background initiated in the introduction continues, the verse enters as Ariana sings the first phrase with the lyrics, "I'm not the one to stick around." Not to break any copyright laws, please listen to the original recording. I will play examples though. 2 notes are used here, C and B flat, the third and second of the A flat chord. Notice how the voice is in the lower register. This is an important technique for moving between registers in different sections or within a section, helps create separation and also heightened emotion. In the second measure of the A flat chord, the melody rests. This lets the melody breathe, an important technique in composition. Silence between phrases and silence between notes is as important as the music itself. Phrase 2. The second phrase is interesting in that it is 3 measures long, not usually the norm in popular music, which favors more 2/4 even-numbered sections and phrases. Ariana sings the second phrase. The lyrics are, "One strike and you're out, baby. Don't care if I sound crazy, but you never let me down." Actually, Ariana sings the whole first verse by herself. The phrase starts against the C minor 7th chord for 2 measures and then moves to the D flat chord for 1 measure. Against the C minor 7th, we hear the same measure sung twice. Then the phrase concludes against the D flat chord, repeating the first phrase. 3 extremely important elements are seen here. 1. Repetition of a previous measure. 2. Repetition of an earlier phrase. 3. The first phrase is heard against the A flat chord, the repetition against the D flat chord. This is so important because we see how the same notes change color as the background chord is changed. I will play them both slowly so we can hear the mood change. I've always stressed the fact whether you compose the melody first and add chords, or the chords first and add a melody, the background chords change the color of each note and the emotion. The lyrics to the first time we heard it against the A flat chord, the first phrase was, "I'm not the one to stick around." And then at the end of the second phrase, we hear the same notes, "But you never let me down," now against the D flat chord. Listen carefully. So the notes were the C and B flat, the third and second of the chord, moving back and forth. Now, against the D flat chord, it becomes the major 7th and the 6th, an entirely different feel. In past podcasts, I have highlighted the effect of chord and non-chord tones on the color and relative tension of each note against the chord. Now, Ariana sings "No, No," introducing the third phrase. Phrase 3. The lyrics are, "That's why when the sun's up, I'm still laying in your bed saying." The notes are practically the same as the first 2 measures of the second phrase, where we heard her sing, "One strike and you're out, baby. Don't care if I'm crazy." Only this time, Instead of against the C minor 7th chord, we hear the F minor 7th and E flat chord. Talk about planning, continuity, and symmetry. Once again, the same notes change color as the harmony moves to different chords, shifting tonal colors for variation and interest. Developing phrases through variations is a technique used by all composers in all styles of music. In popular music, how many times have we heard a singer sing the same phrase 3 or 4 times, slightly changing it, or a jazz musician improvising, creating different phrases on the same idea, or a drum solo where they play the same riff 3 or 4 times in a row? My point is repetition or repetition with variation is vital for the listener to relate to the song. Now we move into the pre-chorus. Still sung only by Ariana, her vocal register now moves up a little higher. This, with the addition of background voices, signals something new. The background is the same as the introduction and verse. The melody takes on a different feel as now there are 4 evenly spaced phrases, rather than the 3 uneven of the verse. Phrase 1. Against the A flat chord we hear ooh, 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 ooh. Mostly chord tones, C, E flat, F, and A flat. Phrase 2, she sings, got all this time on my hands. This, beginning as a pickup on the A flat chord, got all this, then moves on to the C minor 7th with all chord tones for the lyrics, time on my hands. Phrase 3, she sings, might as well cancel our plans, yeah. Another pickup, starting on the C minor 7th chord, might as well, then finishes on the D flat chord with cancel our plans, yeah. The fourth and last phrase of this pre-chorus is unique in that the phrase is broken into 3 short gestures. I could stay here for a lifetime. The reason I am mentioning this is that in the verse, except for the last phrase, all phrases begin on the first beat of the measure. Now in the pre-chorus, the reverse occurs. The first phrase starts on the first beat, and all the other phrases begin as a pickup. Subconsciously, along with the melodic rhythm, this lends separation to the sections. If the background does not change with sections, certain elements must be added, changed, or added to achieve separation of sections. Especially in today's music, where a lot of the sections contain the same chord progressions and backgrounds. One of the greatest examples of this is Smells Like Teen Spirit, where the whole song is built on a 4-chord cycle, F, B flat, A flat, and D flat, that does not change. However, by changing the intensity through moving from bar chords to power chords and the change in drum beat, sectioning is achieved. The chorus. Ariana is still singing solo. We notice how the notes now are moving up a little higher. We are slowly climbing in intensity. As many people have said, now comes the most important part of any song, the chorus. Everything has been leading to this point. It usually contains the title and the main melodic hook. This chorus is twice as long as the previous sections. It is 16 measures long, divided musically into 2 8-measure sections. The second 8 are the same as the first 8. The first important technique to notice is that the background still does not change. It is exactly the same. There are 3 phrases for each section. Truly noticeable is that except for 8th note rests separating the phrase, it is almost without a break. Both sections end with the title hook. At the end of the first half, the first 8 measures, we hear the hook, stuck with you, 3 times. And then at the end of the second 8, we hear stuck with you 6 times. I will play the first 8 measures now. Take particular notice of how there's very little rest, and most importantly, there's only really 3 measures of music, because the first and the third measure are the same, the second and the fourth are the same, and then the last 4 measures repeat the same idea, the melodic lyrical hook, stuck with you, using the same notes. also notice how the last measure was a sequence. Instead of C and 2 B flats for Stuck on You, it moved up a step to D flat and 2 Cs for the last Stuck on You. Extending a section by repetition, repetition with variation, sequence, and other techniques have been used throughout music history. In larger works, such as symphonies, for more material, but in short works like a song, to create memorable hooks and earworms in the listener. Verse number 2. This is also very interesting in that verses are usually musically identical with new lyrics. At this point, Justin sings the lead with Ariana adding harmony. Basically the same musically as the first verse. There are some slight variations and other measures totally different. In the first measure, against the A-flat chord, we hear the lyrics, "Nowhere we need to be." This is the same. In measure 2, also against the A-flat chord, now instead of a rest, we hear "No, no, no" in harmony with Ariana, a fourth apart. Measures 3 and 4, against the C minor 7th, Justin sings, "I'ma get to know you better, kinda hope we're here forever." Here, basically the same, however with slight variation. In the next two measures against the D-flat chord, the lyrics are "Nobody on the streets." At this point, it does move away from the first verse, and Ariana adds harmony in 6th and 5th above. In measures 7 and 8, the last two of the second verse, against the F minor 7th and E-flat chords, we hear the lyrics, "If you told me that the world's ending, ain't no other way I can spend it." This uses the same notes as the first verse, but they are accelerated with the 16th note melodic rhythmic motive. Ariana adds harmony in thirds. The shifting additional harmonies, the thirds, sixths, fourths, and fifths, add extra color and density, along with underlining the impact and meaning of the lyrics. What is most noticeable is that little nuances are added in the second verse instead of an exact repetition of the music. Small changes of a phrase or the type of harmony added is a sign of extra attention to even the smallest detail. As in a fine painting, little details, sometimes gone unnoticed, subconsciously can make the difference between something that is ordinary or something that is great. Now we have pre-chorus number 2 and chorus number 2. This follows the normal procedure of keeping the music and the lyrics the same. However, there are changes because now Justin and Ariana sing a duet, sometimes answering each other or in harmony, plus the addition of background vocals. Overall, the music is intensifying. The bridge. Now we hear a real change, melodically, harmonically, and rhythmically. In songwriting today, the modern bridge is a section which brings in something new. This bridge is a classic textbook example of a modern bridge. Previously, the bridge was the B section or contrasting section in the older song form of AABA, with A being the verse and B being the bridge section. For more on the modern bridge, please see podcasts number 8 and number 9. The first event we notice is that the background rhythm for the first time changes. The chords now play a 4/8 note pattern, continued for 6 measures. The 7th measure accelerates with 6 repetitions of the chord into the 8th measure with a dotted half note chord, which highlights the entrance of the final chorus. The chord progression is also altered. The bridge opens with the 4 chord D flat. This is very common practice for the opening of a bridge. The progression we just heard is 2 measures of D flat, 2 measures of A flat back to the 1 chord, then 2 measures of D flat, pulling to the 5 chord, E flat for the last 2 measures. If this sounds familiar, it's because hundreds of those doo-wop songs of the 50s used this progression for their bridges. In the melody, we see Ariana and Justin answer each other with similar phrases, then come together on the lyrics, "Here Tonight." Chorus number 3, Ariana and Justin. The final chorus is the climax of this work. The intensity is at its highest level. We see techniques rarely seen in the repetition of a chorus. Let's look at some of these changes and variations in melody, harmony, and accompaniment. The first half, remember the chorus is in two halves. The first half is sort of restrained in the accompaniment, but not in the vocals. The harmony, the background chords are now altered. The first two measures still feature the A-flat chord. However, next, instead of the C minor 7th chord, we now have C7. This is the secondary dominant. See podcast 22 for more on secondary dominance. When the 3 chord C minor 7th is altered to C7, the 5 chord in the key of F, normally pulling to that chord or key. In this instance, it's used for color. It changes the color. It makes it a little more dissonant and pull. But instead of pulling to F, it pulls to the chord 1/2 step above the D flat, adding tension to the lyrics, "Can't fight this no more." We hear the D flat chord for 2 measures, same as in the original chorus. Previously, this one was followed by F minor 7th and E flat, 1 bar each. Now it is altered to D flat minor for 2 bars. Truly important is the fact that the D flat minor now, the rhythm is changed. It's 2 dotted half notes. In other words, it's sustained over the 2 measures, highlighting the title, "Stuck With You." Moving the 4 chord D flat major to minor is a common practice from light to dark. The melody. The melody is not just altered, it is changed. The vocal harmony on important lyrics such as "Can't Fight This No More" is not just a complementary parallel harmony, but a counterpoint. When the harmony is complementary, as for the lyrics "Nothing I'd Rather Do," it is not the usual thirds or chord tones in parallel motion, but moves in and out of various shadings as the intervals move through seconds, thirds, unisons, 7ths, 6ths, and 4ths. As we have seen before, this takes supreme vocal ability. The second half of the chorus, 8 measures, returns us to the original chorus with some slight variation of melody and lyrics. As I mentioned earlier, this is incredibly well crafted. The outro. In the outro, we see a release of tension after the climax of the chorus. We return to the original background, featuring Justin and Ariana singing the lyric "You" with a counterpoint of melismas, that is, many notes on one syllable. Then we hear the title 3 times in harmony. The last 8 measures fade on the instrumental background. All the tension has slowly subsided. There is no constant repetition of the melodic hook. The song ends as it began. With the music of the introduction, it slowly fades out. In this analysis, we have seen a perfect example of today's song construction, such as the use of an introduction that forecasts the future, 2 layers of harmonic chord progressions, the underlying and the superimposed rhythmic harmonic hook, melodic construction featuring motivic development through repetition, variation, sequence, imitation, to name a few. Sectioning through vocal register and harmonic and rhythmic alteration, and vocal harmonies that create shifting tonal colors while highlighting certain lyrics. These are only some of the varied techniques that go into creating a memorable work. If you are interested, I have videos on YouTube dealing with different aspects of composition. Also available on Amazon, a book, The Songwriter's Guide to Melodies. I'd like to leave you with this quote by Arthur O'Shaughnessy. "We are the music makers and the dreamer of dreams."